Howdy folks, I'm Colonel Sanders and you're not. Welcome to the live. I've been kind of slacking on the Tetris all August long, but we had a few things going on. One, I got a job. Two, video on TikTok and Instagram went viral. We reached over 100,000 followers on Instagram now, which TikTok was the first platform I broke 100,000 on, and you guys heard me complain for the last 2 years about TikTok, and I'm finally back on the For You page there. Unfortunately, it has to do with leaking a recipe and being mad at KFC again, but I guess that's what made me on TikTok before. It makes sense why the algorithm would pick that back up. But Instagram never really did anything. Just 3 weeks ago I was saying we're at 64,000 followers, or at 117,000. It's wild. Wish that would happen here on YouTube. It'd be pretty cool. I'd like one of those bronze play buttons to mount to the wall. Maybe one day. But that went viral. And then a wave of people coming in calling my uncle a racist and a thief and all this stuff started circulating, and I had to address that. Then a lot of people had questions about the YouTube channel, about whether I had cooking videos on here or not with that recipe, and I was advertising that, so a lot of folks are coming over now to see the cooking stuff. And because I had Fortnite playing in the background, my sister and my best friend were playing Fortnite, and I purposely had that in the background of my video so that people knew that there was gaming involved. So it was kind of a marketing tactic for my channel, because KFC had blocked me as well. So with all of that going on, I've been a little busy. So when I'm not working, I'm making the videos, but there's comments to respond to, questions to answer, history to talk about, and I'd be over there doing that. But we're going to do some Tetris now. Last year we didn't get to do Tetris every day of August because my nephew was born. So we did have that going on. Do that. Remember to like the live, folks. Much appreciated when you do. I do have it set to subscribers only, so if you want to hate, because I've been getting a lot of hate on the other platforms for, standing up for my uncle's legacy. If you want to hate, you gotta at least subscribe to leave the hate. And I've been slacking on the members only lives too. So I apologize on all that. But KFC can block me and they can misrepresent my uncle all they want. Millions of people have seen the video now. Ironically, a lot of people, they've tried the recipe that I posted. And it's the recipe I've been sharing on YouTube for over a year that I've been perfecting my skill at making. And with all the facts behind it. But I revealed everything about it. And people tried it and they loved it. But ironically, the recipe isn't the biggest catch of this. People were shocked that the Colonel was a real person. And now that millions are learning that the Colonel was a real person, they're calling KFC out on it in their comment sections. And what's really weird is KFC blocked me on TikTok entirely, but they've only restricted me on Instagram. And all the other platforms that I'm active on, they haven't bothered with me at all. I don't know what their game is, but I know that I don't like their marketing strategy that they have going on. I know the franchisees don't like their marketing strategy. And more people I'm seeing on at least Instagram, where I can view their comments and videos, people are saying the marketing team really has no idea what they're doing with the kind of ads that they're running. But they have to run those ads now because they signed a contract to run those ads. They paid the guy to make those videos. The advertisements that we are seeing and have yet to see are already recorded and paid for. It's not like they decide, hey, get on here, we'll do this now. No. And that chef, that he has millions of followers, the chef that is partnering with KFC right now, I have no idea who he is, and he looks like a fool, in my opinion, especially with how he's partnering with KFC and supporting this behavior. So I've been dealing with all that stuff. I'm a little excited because everybody's learning about the Colonel. It was never about the recipe. It was about the legacy and who he was. And a lot of people don't know that. And through what I did on the platforms, people are knowing it now. So maybe that'll encourage the brand one day to go back to their roots. Or maybe they'll keep doing what they're doing and eventually dig themselves a grave that they can't get out of. I know for a fact Kentucky Fried Chicken is struggling in the US. I know for a fact they're struggling to keep their doors open. Taco Bell is really the only thing keeping them afloat, and it's barely. And they are desperate to get in the good graces by running these free bucket campaigns, the comeback campaigns, and all this stuff. But they decided to launch this after they pissed everybody off by moving to Texas. And now they're bringing the wedges back as a desperate attempt to get back on top. When in reality, Jollibee took over, or Jollibee, however you pronounce that. I've never heard of them before. And they took over as the top fried chicken chain in the country. KFC is also behind Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. I know this for a fact. I think I've even posted articles about that too. So people didn't think I was just hating on the brand because I didn't get what I wanted. I'm sharing the facts. I know they're struggling, and I knew that if they really wanted to make a comeback, my family and I could have worked with them to make it great again. But all jokes aside, yeah, we could have made it. We could have made it great. We could have helped market it in a way that was more genuine. And if they allowed us to throw some ideas in on what we think would work and what worked for us back in the day when we owned the company and when we worked for the company after the ownership was sold, then I think we could have really done some good and made Kentucky Fried Chicken on top again. But now they're just a brand that looks like they're desperately needing attention. Like I said, my boycott will continue until they issue a public apology to my entire family, not just me, not just my side of the family, an apology to the Colonel's grandchildren, the other nieces and nephews for the embarrassment that they've caused with their marketing, and then an apology to my family for completely ignoring our complaint in Central City and allowing the harassing behavior of the employees and manager to be tolerated. And a public apology for blocking me. And if that never happens, then I guess I boycott them forever, and who cares, right? Because I can make the chicken better than they can. And I'm teaching all of you how to make it at home yourself too, so you don't have to go get it. Maybe people, even after knowing what I cook and how I cook and the videos I share of it, people still want a restaurant of it, and they said they would 100% come and support me. So I'm highly considering that. I just need to learn how to start one. It's not like when Uncle Harley was alive in 1952 when he first started Kentucky Fried Chicken officially. And really, it was 1930 to 1940 that he was developing the seasoning and serving the variants of it to the public. Ooh. Well, that ain't no good. I highly or heavily supported the idea of adding Uncle Harley to Fortnite and video games. And though I won't be like hating on them if they did do that, but I suspect they're going to do that as part of the desperate attempt to get everybody's attention instead of fixing the food. They got to do all these marketing gimmicks. I think we'll see that, but I won't buy the skin. They'll have all these people running around playing as Colonel Sanders, but they won't have anybody in the Colonel's family supporting it because we can't support a company that sexualizes our uncle and then behaves the way that they do. And people are mad that I'm saying that I'm like that. Oh, you sold the company, you guys don't have a say so. Well, we're customers too, or were. And we have a right to voice our opinion and boycott things that we don't agree with. Just like all these people that hate Israel, they're boycotting KFC because they think KFC supports genocide. Because maybe the Yum Brands CEO donated money to something they didn't agree with. I don't know. I just know that they're boycotting the brand. But if they have the right to do it over that, I have the right to boycott them over sexualizing my uncle. And we all got our reasons for not wanting to support a company, and that's my reason, is I will not support a company that sexualizes my uncle and misrepresents him and treats the family the way that they do and advertise the way that they do and not even serve the food right. That's a legitimate reason, not based off of speculation, not based off of reading something on the internet and then saying, oh, we need to hate this because the internet says so. It's based off of actual experiences and facts. When it comes to, the brand ignores all the comments because a lot of it's bots, but hello. When it comes to the boycott for people who don't support Israel and they're boycotting KFC, the real reason is because KFC has a franchise in Israel. But that Israel franchise is not operated by the U.S. corporation. They just sell the franchising rights to an individual there or a company there that wants to sell KFC. But everyone's saying to boycott the brand because somebody decided to say something else about it. I'm not quite sure where the rumor originated. I don't know if it's true or not, if the Yum Brand CEO donated a bunch of money to the war. I don't know. What I know is that there's a franchise in Israel. And as I said when Russia invaded Ukraine, I didn't say boycott the brand over it. I said revoke the franchising rights from Russia. And if that's what they gotta do, with Israel, then that's what they gotta do with Israel to appease their customers, right? But they can revoke the franchising agreement. So they did that in Russia. But my boycott is not based on politics. It's not based on assumptions. It's not based on where a franchise is located during a war that I have nothing to do with. My boycott's not based off of cancel culture. My boycott's not based off of anything other than the sexualization of my uncle and the misrepresentation of my uncle, the disrespect towards my family, the inability to uphold my uncle's quality as advertised, the allowance of letting a manager from Kentucky Fried Chicken and its employees harass customers online and cuss them out, and to be rude to them when they go into the store. And blocking me. These are my reasons, factual, not based off of anything other than experience of why I'm boycotting the brand. Yeah, John Wayne Gacy did own some. Well, he didn't own the franchises. John Wayne Gacy managed them. His father-in-law owned the franchises. And it was in Waterloo, if I remember right. And John Wayne Gacy was pretty good at his job of being a manager, that his father-in-law put him in place of 3 locations. And nobody had any idea of the kind of man John Wayne Gacy was at that time. His last meal request was Kentucky Fried Chicken. But when he was put to death and he had his last meal, the way they did things had already changed. So he didn't actually get to try the original again before he died. He got to taste whatever it was that they changed. And several people... Now, I don't understand how random people on the internet would know more than people in my family. Because they don't. But people are saying that he knew my uncle and that they were good friends, and that's just not true. There is nothing, no historical evidence, nothing within the family that says or suggests that Uncle Harley knew and was good friends with John Wayne Gacy. If he met John Wayne Gacy, it would be at one of his travels of going to the restaurants to make sure things were being done the way he wanted them done. And that's it. So there's your fact on that. But yeah, a lot of those boycott KFC comments are bots that are up against Israel. I don't care where you stand on the thing. My stance on the entire thing is I want people to quit dying. I want children to quit dying. I want innocent people to quit dying. And it's unnecessary and it needs to stop. That's my opinion on it. My opinion. Not what people tell me to think, not what you tell me to think, probably not what you think. That's my opinion on it. I want to see that stuff stop. And when it comes to Kentucky Fried Chicken, if they got to pull a franchise agreement out of a certain country and region, then they need to pull a franchise agreement out of that country or region like they did Russia. It took a lot of people calling for it to happen in Russia. And when that happened, KFC and Yum Brands, they looked at it and said, oh, we're going to lose the support of almost every customer in the United States if we don't do this. Because it was mainly the United States calling for it. So when the corporation sees that they're going to lose more money, then they actually act upon what the consumer base wants. So my boycott's not going to do anything unless everybody gets behind me on it and boycotts the brand and tells them that they need to do things right. And if people start doing that, then they'll be like, oh, well, we're not doing things right. We need to change it so we don't lose our consumers. And they will listen because they're losing money now. They're going bankrupt now. They're barely being able to keep their doors open with their 35,000 locations. They got new people in the franchising agreements that don't know what they're doing. A lot of franchisees that are veterans in the company don't like what they're doing. They don't like what corporate's doing. They don't like the marketing gimmicks. They don't like any of it. They have strong feelings against it. So they're already losing their butts right now. And if we don't give in to this bringing the wedges back, give in to this new Colonel Sanders of theirs bullcrap, if we don't give in to this misrepresentation, the free buckets or whatever, and we say, no, we're not going to eat your food until you actually fix your food and quit doing this. If we all stand up and do that, like we did with Russia, they'll be like, oh crap, we can't afford to lose any more money, so we need to stop. They moved to Texas for tax cuts. Kentucky Fried Chicken moved from Texas, or from Kentucky to Texas for tax cuts, because Texas had more friendly corporation tax benefits than Kentucky had. And they couldn't afford the taxes in Kentucky. In fact, they even sued the IRS because the IRS said you didn't pay your taxes. You need to pay these certain taxes. And the billion-dollar Yum Brand Corporation sued the IRS and said, we don't need to pay those. I don't know what happened with that, but it happened. And it just doesn't look good for the company. So I absolutely believe that if a lot of people show up and say, like, y'all don't want it in Israel, everybody has to stand up and quit saying boycott KFC because they support them. You have to say that you want that franchise pulled, and they'll pull the franchising agreement like they did in Russia. And what I'm trying to do is level with people here to get you to understand how this works when we boycott something. That's my thoughts. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll play more Tetris. I think more people would get behind removing the franchise in Israel. And I'm not saying anything against Israel, not saying anything against Palestinians, because I don't get into that stuff. I think innocent people should quit dying, regardless what side it's on. But I feel like that's more of it's a sensitive topic, but more relevant topic that people would get behind and understand in relation to what I'm saying. I don't know how many people would get behind me and support boycotting the brand based on my experiences and what I want changed. I've never been to Church's Chicken, so I can't tell you what my thoughts on that is. I know I'm tired of seeing the comments accusing my uncle of stealing the recipe because he was a white man that made chicken. Church's Chicken was founded in 1952 by a white man. Same year as Kentucky Fried Chicken. But nobody's saying that they stole their recipe from somebody that was black. To sum up what I was saying, because I know people are going to take that out of context. It worked in Russia when everybody in the United States was calling for them to remove their franchising licensing out of Russia due to the Ukraine invasion. People are just saying boycott KFC because there's a franchise in Israel, but they're not saying remove that franchise. But if they did, I guarantee that eventually that would work, especially if other companies followed suit too and removed their franchising agreements. Me being one person boycotting the brand through the issues that I'm putting out there won't cause the brand to change anything. But if everybody is gathering together like they do for these other causes, then they would change it, not because it's what's right, but because it's what makes them money. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? I'm autistic, so I don't know if what I'm jibber jabbering on makes sense or not. I got in the comments. I've gotten the hate comments on my videos talking about my boycott. They're talking about things that have nothing to do with my boycott, but it has something to do with their own boycott. Like I said, everybody has their own reasons, and those are the reasons right now. More people are wanting to boycott the brand because of a war than my issues that I have. Kentucky Fried Chicken started in Kentucky, and Uncle Harley went around the country franchising And I believe he was able to franchise in the United Kingdom, in Japan, in the United States, and Canada before he sold out in 1964. He was able to franchise across the world in that sense. Then he sold out to Brown and Massey, who were one was a Kentuckian, one's from Tennessee. Massey was from Tennessee, and Brown was from Kentucky. They were businessmen, and they grew the value of that company up. Then they sold to an alcohol company, Huelblind, which I believe is an American company, or was. And then they were bought out by R.J. Reynolds, a cigarette company. And R.J. Reynolds sold to PepsiCo, who spun off Trincon, or Tricon, one of the two, I can't remember the name. And then they changed that name in 1997 to Yum Brands. Now, I don't know who owns PepsiCo or Yum Brands. I don't know if it's a foreign nation. I don't know if it's American owned. A lot of people say it's owned by China, but I think what they're getting confused is there is a lot of Chinese and Japanese franchises of Kentucky Fried Chicken because it's very popular overseas. Very popular overseas. So I think people see that and they think that it's owned by a foreign nation now. I don't know. It might be. I don't know. But KFC is very popular outside of the United States. There used to be a Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken in Qatar. My cousin Lee franchised his famous recipe franchises overseas as well. I don't think he ever made it to Japan, but there were a few Asian countries that he franchised in. They don't exist there anymore, but I do believe there's still one in Qatar. In today's world, all it takes to franchise Kentucky Fried Chicken is $750,000 in liquid assets. And that's it. I have a video on YouTube here going through that because one of my friends sent me the franchising agreement and application, because I asked him to send that to me if he could so I could educate everybody on what goes into it. So it doesn't matter what country you're from, so long as you can, as long as KFC can abide by their culinary rules. Like if a country says you can't serve your food here without revealing your recipe 100%, then they just don't allow the franchise in that country. But so long as that's not an issue, if you got the money, you can franchise. We're going faster now. Dang it. What was my family's role in the American Civil War? Great question. I can answer that for you. We're on all kinds of sensitive topics today, aren't we, folks? We're just trying to upset people. My family's role in the American Civil War. Matthew Clegg, who was, I think, the Colonel's great-grandfather. I think he would be my 5th great-grandfather. Let's see. So, the Colonel's brother is my great-great-grandfather. The Colonel's father is my 3 great-grandfather. The Colonel's father's father would be my 4th great-grandfather. So, yeah, Matthew Clegg would be my 5th great-grandfather on his mother's side. Because when you get to the Sanders family, it gets lost. The lineage gets lost so far back into New Jersey. You go from Indiana to New Jersey, and then there's nothing. And that does go back into the 1700s. But the Colonel's family, so the Sanders primarily resided in Indiana, a northern state. And the Dunleavys, Cleggs, and Cathcarts, all the family that immigrated over from Ireland and Scotland, pretty much settled in Indiana as well. Matthew Clegg served in the Union as a cavalry leader. I actually have a photo on my Instagram page in here of him on his horse, and then there's a photo of him slightly older with his beard. And he looks remarkably like my grandpa Ed, which I think that's really interesting. But anyway, so my family primarily lived in the north. They settled in the north when we came over from overseas. And though the Sanders lineage with the last name traced back disappears and you lose the records, that's why I always say anybody that is a Sanders that claims relation would have to have done a DNA test to know that they're related, because the records are so broken and lost when you go so far back. But all the family pretty much settled in New Jersey, Indiana, and some in Kentucky. Colonel Sanders, after his stepfather kicked him out of the house, he went to join the army, lied about his age at age 16 because his stepfather kicked him out of the house. He was sent back to the United States a year later, and he went to live in Alabama with my great-great-grandfather, his brother, and their uncle. And Uncle Harley resided in Alabama for a long time, which it was a southern state. And that's where he met his first wife and had his children, his 3 children. And then they moved to Kentucky. They moved back to Kentucky, and that's when he worked in Oak Ridge, Tennessee as a cafeteria operator or cooker, and he had the Sanders Cafe in Kentucky as well. But when it comes to the Civil War, the family that did serve for the Union in the Civil War, specifically the cavalry, which I have the name of that cavalry. There was a number, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's posted to the page. Yeah, I got other family branches as well. I got the Smiths and a bunch of other family branches. The Smiths were primarily Indiana as well during the Civil War. Other family members, I don't know. I haven't done that much research to dig down into. Some of them probably did serve for the South. It's very possible. There's a lot of people in America that has family ties to both the North and the South during the Civil War. But most of what I could find says that the family, most of the branches that I've done the research on, served for the Union or lived in a northern state. Now, my sister Nevaeh, who plays games with me, she's my half sister. She's related to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And what? Well, I can't tell about that because I know nothing about the nurse. But I know about George Washington and I know about Abraham Lincoln. Now, is Abraham Lincoln a cousin of yours or uncle of yours of some greats? I thought Abraham Lincoln, that or George Washington, one of the two was a uncle of some greats. I need to do more research on that. My stepmother did most of that research for that because that's their side of the family. But there's part of that connection as well. Now, I have a cousin that was related to Colonel Sanders' Davy Crockett. And you all heard about Davy Crockett. So if you're related to Davy Crockett, there's a good chance you're related to Colonel Sanders as well. You're a little dangerous here. good. I'm locked in. I messed up. I messed up. I'm out. My family ate Popeyes for many years over KFC before we started making it ourselves.
But I've never tried Popeyes.
Never?
Never. In my entire life.
Oh, in Florida we had it all the time.
We have a Popeyes here.
I used to bring Popeyes to middle school with me and tell people that, yeah. Well, I hear around here it's not good, but in Florida it was. I used to bring that crap to school and tell people it was KFC.
Really?
Yeah. I used to bring, when I went to middle school, I used to bring it in and say, this is the original recipe. Try it. And they'd be like, oh, it's really good. Yeah, eat it. It's Popeyes. You fell for that crap. I hope everybody learned something today while you're streaming. I really do. Oh, they cooked. I'm cooked. They're cooked. They're cooked. Dang. You want to try this? Time to go Grand Autism mode on this. Can't comprehend what? The history lesson I just gave, explaining how the boycotting works with brands and what people believe in and why they boycott, or how Tetris works. I shouldn't have opened my mouth. I'm cooked. Maybe not. There's still hope. Any presidents? He met Richard Nixon. I don't know about any other presidents. I knew that he wrote letters with Richard Nixon. I know that he knew him. Oh, good. So I don't have to explain all that crap with the war in Israel and the war in Russia and Ukraine and boycotting KFC and how that all worked. I don't have to explain all that again. Good. I don't want to talk about it again. I get annoyed by some of the comments I see. But people get annoyed by the comments they see me make of why I boycott. Everybody has their reason, and they're valid to themselves and are entitled to that reason. That's why we live in the way that we do. Yeah, well, we'll get back up to that. That was my bad for reading the comment before the game was over. So I'm not ignoring you, but I'm ignoring you until this game's over. Eat this. It's not taking as long at all, is it? There we go. I have royally cooked myself. Oh, I'm cooked. Well, have a good night. I've been live for an hour, but there's people watching, so I'll keep going even though I got to be at work at 5 in the morning. We'll keep going. Here, have an ad. Help support the page at least. I like the big long ones. I like to hide those in my inventory. Dang it. Ugh. I think the next Tetris game we'll play will be on the Sega Genesis. Dang it. Alright. This will be my last game if I don't win it. I mean, tired. If I win this one, it'll be my last game. But hey, y'all know TikTok, when they send the galaxies and everybody gets really excited about the galaxies, it's worth about $7. Got my first galaxy in the several years I've been on TikTok, worth $7. It is the most expensive gift to send. $7. It costs more than that to get the coins needed to get that. Note to self, don't do what I just did. Do not target badges. Dang it. Okay, I guess I'm doing another one. Oh, my eyes. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I just cracked my back. Rather than twist my neck and stuff, take my hand like this, and I push, cracks down your neck and your spine. I am not a chiropractor. Do not take that as advice, that's just what I do. If y'all haven't liked the live and you like what you're seeing here, please like the live. Thank you. Oh, I should uninstall the game for that one. I have no business playing this game. I'm gonna switch out my glasses. These ones are more comfortable. It looks different, right? Like Superman. Don't recognize me without the right pair of glasses. Now I look like Mr. Crocker. Yes, mother! Fairy godparents! Messed that up, didn't I? Mm. Do I really want to do another one? I think I might call it a night. Yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. We got about 5 hours to get to sleep here before I gotta go in. All right.